Oh, hi folks, Saturday the 25th of November. Um, Nothing more irritating when you look at YouTube videos. You think, oh, these are relatively current, and then you click on and you realize some jerk has uploaded something from 2 years ago. It seems to be like clickbait, but it's non-productive. It's irritating as hell, and I don't know why people do it. They should do their own videos instead of pinching others and then putting them on, and it's just a nonsense, really. It ruins YouTube, quite frankly, I think. So I do my own videos in the vain hope, I suppose, of maybe somebody else finds them interesting while they're making themselves a sandwich. Or I can entertain you for a while you drift off to sleep, look into my eyes, as they say. Anyway, this evening's video then from UK will be hopefully non-controversial, and just let you know a few of my personal thoughts about, at my age, in excess of 50, what my views are now. My views, even since early 20s, I suppose, haven't really changed. They've just been compounded as right, and affirmed as right by time and information. The more I learn about something, the more entrenched my belief in that thought pattern and that subject is etched into my very soul. A lot of what I say in this video you might or may not agree with, but give it time, give it time. You might be young and free and dynamic, or you might be an old fart waiting to push up the daisies and get in line. And you could be quite stagnant in your thoughts, and you could be on the fence about certain things. And I hope what I say in this video then might push you into a decision one way or the other. The first one, which is full of controversy, is whether we live on a ball, i.e. a sphere, or whether we're on a flat plane. And there's an awful lot on YouTube about it, but I tend to believe my eyes and my senses, and my eyes say to me that the ground is flat and the horizon seems pretty level to me. And equally, there's no need in my mind, if anybody had suggested otherwise since I was born, and I lived in ignorance as they did in the Middle Ages, for example, early Middle Ages, that yes, you'd fall off the edge. So the only time an opinion was formed in my mind was when I was young, and you are quite happy as a toddler until you're dumped at the door by your reluctant parent to let go of your hand, kicking and screaming into infant school. Age 5, you're taken away for indoctrination. This is the point. And the moment you go in, of course, you see a globe, you see the planets on the wall, and you see posters everywhere, and they give you a globe, and can you find England or whatever? Where's Africa? Where's America? And all this is programming. Look into my eyes. Clue number 1. Why are they even bothering telling me this? I'm 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I'm being indoctrinated, and that's what it is, into believing that we live on a ball. Now, anybody at age 6, 7, and 8 knows that if you put a little plastic soldier on a globe, it'll fall off the edge. The same with human beings, you would think. But of course we have this illusion that, oh, gravity keeps us on. Okay, so that explains that then. Okay, fair deal. And then you start to see all the pictures of outer space, and proof, the very proof, of course, is that rockets and things have gone to space and they've sent back photos of, and it's curved. We're living on a ball just like the other planets, of course. Well, the moon is round. The sun is allegedly round. Other planets are round. Well, of course, I still believe we live on a flat plane. So it begs the question in my mind is that I then had to search for proof that we do live on a flat plane and answer all the unanswered questions that have previously been flippantly answered by those who are giggling at my very thoughts of falling off the edge, like old explorers. Why it is that nobody's ever circumnavigated the world north to south. They've always done it east to west. Well, why doesn't anybody do it north to south? It's perfectly feasible if you live on a ball, but not so if you live on a flat plane. East to west is like running round the garden like a teddy bear. Other things that stick in my mind about proving to me that we live on a flat plane is that I can see the sun and the moon almost midday in Great Britain. They are both out at the same time. One over there and one over there. And if I lived on a bull where if it's pitch black and I can see the moon, surely they can see the sun in Australia blue. But how do you account for the times that at 11 o'clock a few months back I could see the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time? How is that possible if I live on a ball? Surely the earth will get in the way. My thoughts, of course, are if I can see the sun, Australia can't. And if I can see the moon, Australia can't. So what are they existing under? Of course, the Panama Canal. 60-odd miles long from my understanding, maybe wrong by a few kilometers. Absolutely dead straight, horizontal. No accounting for the curvature of the earth, the alleged curvature. Not at all. Shipping, long navigational shipping calculations do not account for the curvature of the earth. I have never, if I had a ball, I have never seen a ship go up the side and round the top. I've watched a ship disappear into the horizon and look as though it's going over the edge. Sure, it's a trick that fools us all. But if I get my Nikon P900 and I hit zoom, miraculously, the ship comes back into my view. It is simply a question of visual physics. I can bring that ship closer towards me with the most magnificent zoom camera lens. But apparently, if it had gone over the horizon around the curvature, which we all believe it to have done, there's no way I would have been able to zoom that ship back closer to me. There are innumerable numbers of experiments proven to show that we live on a flat plane. And you get the argument from others saying, oh, have you not been on holiday up to your neck in water in the Mediterranean and looked from horizon to horizon to see the slight curvature in that distance that you can see from your viewpoint? Oh, for sure. It's an illusion. The moisture in our atmosphere bends light. Number one. Number two is the human eye is a ball. The lens, the cornea, our eye, if you were to look at it from a cross-sectional point of view, the outer part of our eye, the corneas, are slightly bulbous, like a lens. They distort the image and our brain is fooled. And it is only by education, and repetition is the mother of skill, that we learn to read the deceit. There are so many people who would benefit from hiding the fact that we live on a flat plane. And the biggest, of course, is the industrial military complex, the governments. Even before Copernicus was convinced at one stage that we did indeed live on a flat plane. We were unique in the universe in this respect, it seemed. Well, how are you to know? And how am I to know that we are indeed unique? Because we are subject to the disinformation of scientists and politicians and those with an agenda to keep us in the dark. Conspiracy, yes, absolutely there is, and this is no theory. Who benefits the most from telling everybody, believe it, we live on a ball? Well, only those who would say that our world, our flat plane, is not infinite. What's wrong with living on a flat plane that is infinite is that they cannot control and herd the humans in one area. We would all be deceived into thinking if we carry on expanding and moving east to west, we'd eventually go round and meet at the bottom. That's the mindset of people. But what if by going east and west has cut the population of the world in half, we all went our separate ways, ever expanding, like mould all over the floor or grass? They would be very hard pressed to be able to control the human population. People would be going north, east, west, south, southeast, southwest, northwest, wouldn't they? We'd be scattered like the four winds. But if you want to corral a slave population, convince them they live on a ball and there's nowhere to run, what a perfect illusion, what a perfect trick to control the human population from ever outward expansion. It's like they want to keep us in a meshwork of slaves, neo-slaves. Because if we lived on a flat plane, hey, guess what? There would be those amongst us who would just hit the road, Nancy, and go north, east, south or west. See ya. And we would be on our travels, ever experiencing what is our birthright. But no, even though we do indeed live on a flat planet, a flat plane with limitless horizons or distances, in any direction you choose, because there are land masses hidden from the general populace of the earth, by those who seek to corral and control and enslave us. And it is an enslavement of the human species, quite by perfection and design. There are pilots I know, and being one myself, that do not account for the curvature of the earth during their calculations of navigation. It is not in the algorithms. I wonder why. You see, when you are allegedly encompassed with the North Pole and the South Pole, and we'll never go further and past those points. Of course not, because they are the gatekeepers. You'll never get past the ice wall. Oh, so I won't bother trying then. So I have to stay in Britain, or I have to stay in Germany or France. I'm stuck. This is just my lot in life. But there's been ancient maps, thousands of years old, showing there are land masses past Antarctica of great expanse and uncharted territories. Of course there are. When we are on an infinite plane, of course there are. But somebody knows they're there and left it recorded for us to see. And that was suppressed. Oh, you fool, fancy saying that. That would be ridiculous. But these have been carved in stone, hundreds of thousands of years old. Why the deception? Who benefits from saying we live on a ball? That's the question to ask yourself in any problem. Who benefits from the deception? And is those who seek to deceive and control. It makes no real odds to me personally whether we're on a flat plane or a ball, except that I don't like being lied to. I see no reason for it. People should be having free spirit, but we're not allowed. We are not born free. It is all about control. There is so much evidence. You, as an individual, won't be able to go to Antarctic. No, there are those who can, and those who aren't allowed. And you're not one of the chosen few. There are those people on this planet, this earth plane of existence. Planet is a small plane, Plane, isn't it? Flat plane, a small one, is a planet. A small area of our pathetic little existence is guarded by the military, and you simply won't get into Antarctica. Of course not. We are surrounded by gatekeepers. Look at the flag of NATO with the laurel wreath around it. United Nations flag. It's not a laurel wreath. It's a padlock. In space, we've seen it from space, the Earth's a ball. Well, the camera lenses are all convex. They all distort the images. They don't use correction lenses to straighten out the curvature of the lens, because if they did, you would see that the Earth is no curvature. It is simply a physics thing with the bending of the light because of the lens. It's like, should we look out the triangular window today, or the round window today, or the rectangle? It always seems that we're looking through a circular window today, doesn't it? Well, it's the same with our eyes if we have uncorrected vision. That's my thoughts about the flat earth. Trains, high-speed rail. In the laying of railway track from North Scotland to London, there is no accounting in the calculations of the railway track to take into account the curvature of the earth, because there isn't any. Yes, naturally there are undulations because of the way of the terrain, but there is no curvature calculations. I wonder why. Enough of the flat earth. If I convince a man, a woman against their will, they will be of the same opinion still. What about unidentified flying objects and little green men and aliens, then? Am I a believer? Absolutely am. I think it's more of a stigma to be in denial about such things. It shows you are so arrogant to think that you are unique. Us, this pathetic plane of existence we live on, is so unique out of billions upon billions, incalculable really, of other planets, flat ones or balls, out there, that we are the only ones. We are the special ones, the special needs, I think. We are God's chosen people. Oh, really? How arrogant we are. There are more planets in our solar system and our universe than we can possibly calculate. What do you think, if you were a betting person, are the statistics of us being so special? Are we truly that arrogant? I listen to people on the YouTube and the internet professing to know all the answers. But it's like they're educated idiots. They've got all the answers, but they're broke. They write their books, a variation on a theme for the last 30 years. They claim, many of the charlatans, to have had experiences. They've been taken in, they've had chips put in there. I dare say some of them have. But like everything else, there's always a hair in the ointment with these things. You have to separate very carefully the wheat from the chaff, and there are common denominators of bullshit in every one of the stories I listen to, and it's so sad. It is a gravy train industry writing, I was abducted by an alien. I have insider knowledge. I'm ex-military, as though, myself equally ex-military, but as though it's a badge of honour. And you've got to believe me because I was in the military, you know. Well, I was in the military and there were plenty of liars and attention seekers and bullshit artists amongst my work colleagues, I can tell you. It doesn't stop them being bullshit artists and Walter Mitty's for a second. And if they lie about one thing, it's like the bird that's flown. You'll never get it back. The kudos is gone. They have lost credibility. And they pop up in all sorts of places. You think, oh, not that old coconut again. He's still got the old record on. He's still singing the same monotonous, out-of-tune song. Something allegedly, not proven, happened to him or her some time ago, and they had meetings in Area 51 and the desert. It's always been in a desert. Never in their back gardens, of course not. Or in the woods when they're walking the dogs. No, or when they're fishing, contemplating their navel. It's always when they've been in America as well. Have you noticed America is such a hotspot? Well, there's just as many UFOs. America seems to be the dominant party, of course. Yes. Oversexed, overpaid, and over here. Isn't that what they said about Americans in the war? Well, they've got a flood of UFO examples because, well, quite frankly, it's not the Americans that the extraterrestrials, our brethren, are interested in. It is the Native Americans they have close relationship with and continue to have close relationships with. It is not the military. There are different races and different species of ET, oh for sure. But some of them don't want to work with the industrial military complex. Some of them find them repellent. Many UFOs in Russia, in China, in Great Britain. They do get around these little green men, don't they? But America's got a monopoly, of course. They are the ones that want to control the patents. They control the drip, drip, drip. They've done the dirty deals behind the scenes with some of the extraterrestrials. They've stolen and then drip-fed the back-engineered technology. And they really didn't like the fact that Hitler and von Braun were streets ahead of anything America could even dream about, because rather strange, isn't it, that Hitler was heavily involved in Antarctica way before the Americans took control. Operation Paperclip. And then we had NASA, this complete, never a straight answer, NASA. Never. It was built as a disinformation project. They doctor all the photographs, of course they do. They don't want you to know the truth. And they seem to have the arrogance, do the Americans, to think that it is only going to be up to them to make full disclosure of the factors they've been lying bastards since Roswell. Well, why is Roswell such the tipping point? Because it was the Nazis that were heavily involved with the aliens, outer species, and inner Earth species way before the Americans. And the Americans gave and imported 1,000 Nazi psychopaths, including von Braun and his gang, to develop rockets and militarize technology for their benefit and suppress technology that would have been great for mankind. And that leads me on to the medical side. There isn't a disease on this planet, folks, not one, that isn't curable by vibrational frequencies. Everything has its own vibrational frequency. And if you resonate and find it harmonic and subject that virus or that bacteria, infection or disease causing bug, a cancer cell that resonates, and you find what the resonant frequency is, and you get the harmonic and expose it to the harmonic, you will destroy the cell that is causing the problem, leaving all other surrounding cells intact and unharmed. And if you don't think that there is an instrument you can hold in your hand, that they can find, let's say you had a cancer on your eyelid, they could just wave it over and that cancer cell would die, leaving the rest of you perfectly well, fine. You're on cloud cuckoo land. They have known about vibrational frequency and treatment of man's illness, and they are suppressing it because of the big money to be had in pharmaceuticals and drugs. The same as 0-point energy. Again, from the Nazi era, suppressed because the big oil barons, what would they do with all this spare oil? Can you see now? Well, isn't it sad? Every time I watch an ET video now about aliens and contact and will there be full disclosure, why does it have to come from America? Britain and America and Europe, every other country in the world has had contact with extraterrestrials. Why are we waiting with bated breath for America to make the first move and the big decision makers? It hasn't got a history more than 250 years, has it? And there are really, quite frankly, no such thing as a real American, apart from the indigenous population that were there in the first place. It is indeed a nation built up of bastards from other countries. It is a bastardized nation. There is not a true American. There are Native Americans, the Red Indians, but there are no true. The rest are invaders from other lands. So this is making up, as I progress through my life, separating the wheat from the chaff and deciding for myself with the preponderance of evidence what bullshit we're told from sperm to worm, birth to death. It is up to you to make your own mind up. Here's some key points. Avoid inoculations like the plague. Number 1. Number 2 is let your children decide for themselves, but to give them the evidence of both sides of an argument and let them ask why. There are 5 key friends in life for most of us. They are words. Who, why, where, what, when. And always, cynical that it might sound, always ask who is going to benefit the most if I believe this or apply this in my life. Number 2, when did this all happen, allegedly? Why did it happen? Was it let happen? Was it induced? Was it made to happen? Why is it happening? Where is it happening? Is it deliberate? Did it start by accident over there or here or there? And when are they going to tell the truth to the human population? For those of you who are still undecided, you've got to do your own due diligence. And I smile now when I see people who are such NASA fans and they know all about the space and they got their telescopes. The problem is the human eye can see just a fraction of the visual spectrum of the things that we are surrounded by. Our reality only makes up 2% of what truly is out there. Dark matter and light matter. The dark matter is where the action is. Get your hands on an infrared telescope and you will indeed have your eyes opened as to the real population and the playground that surrounds us all. It's all about light, magnetism, frequency, and vibration frequency. and electricity. Tesla was ahead of his time. Catch you tomorrow if I can find time. Take care now.